everyone. We are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Vince, how you doing?
I'm okay. How are you, Cap?
It's good to see you.
How was your break?
Yeah, how was your vacation?
Oh, it was pretty good. Went to a few places. By a few places, I mean one place.
Yeah? You went to one place?
Yeah, I went to the western part of the state. 6-hour trip. Half an hour in, the air conditioner broke.
Oh, no. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, we've been having this crazy heat wave this summer with, like, no rain. It's been the worst thing ever here in Kansas. And you don't want a heat wave in Kansas because we have really bad humidity here. So, like,
Which is funny.
I've hardly left my house, except for, the trip I went on. But other than that, like, I've hardly left my house.
He's right. But in western Kansas, they had signs all along the side of the road that said, "Do not throw out cigarette butts." Because it is ridiculously dry and it's a fire hazard.
I bet they're not even letting people grill outside.
It was so hot. It was 6 hours there and 6 hours back. We took a trip on Friday and came back on Sunday. And on the way back, I'm driving the last hour and a half of this trip, and it gets so hot that I start to pass out. We get to a red light, like I hold out until a red light, and as soon as we're not moving anymore, I do this.
Oh no, that's
like
terrible.
It wasn't falling asleep because I was just done.
Wow.
And then my fiance's like, "Whoa, wake up!" Like, right, where are we? it was kind of awful. But the trip was nice.
I got to go on an airplane.
Yeah,
which I haven't done in years. Yeah, I've been on an airplane like
I don't know why
twice.
I'm surprised about this.
He's like, really? You didn't drive to Los Angeles? No.
You have hair?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
So I had to go to California for a couple days, and I went down there, and when we flew in, the pilot was like it's 60 degrees in Los Angeles, and I was like, 60 degrees? I haven't seen 60 degrees since February.
He's like, it's 60 degrees in the airport at the moment. Enjoy.
So anyway, we had a great break. Wow, I can't believe this. We come back and we start our Amazing Spider-Man review talking about the weather. Anyway, sorry. I bet we're already getting people leaving comments going, really? You guys are talking about the weather? All right. So anyway, we're back, and we got lots of fun stuff planned for you, including this.
The least of which is not the dinosaur story. But
right. And I hope you're kidding.
Waka waka.
Wow. Anyway, so we got lots of stuff coming up for you. We're gonna be we are gonna be doing some more stuff on Dark Knight Rises coming up soon. But right now, we're gonna be talking about the Amazing Spider-Man. Lots of people have been asking us to review the movie. We both saw it. We both saw it the weekend it came out. So we're gonna do our best.
I saw it in IMAX.
It's been that's cool. I wish I'd seen it in IMAX. I didn't see Rises in IMAX, and I wish I'd done that.
I didn't see Rises in IMAX. I don't know. The idea for me, like, Nolan's is going to be a good movie, but not a high-flying movie. And in my head, it was like, Amazing Spider-Man, it's going to be a lot of people swinging around. Well, a person swinging around.
That's true, but, like there's so much, like, giant, like, death and destruction going on in Rises. Like, I'd like to see that in a giant, like, huge screen.
I would not have minded seeing Batman in IMAX, but
I saw Dark Knight in IMAX, and that was just a big deal. Like, I freaking love that.
It was more important to me to see Spider-Man. I didn't care if it was a better movie or not. I just wanted to see it.
Well, anyway, we're going to go ahead and review it for you, and... since we were off for the break, we weren't able to review it when it came out. So sorry you had to wait for it, but here it is. And so we're putting 10 minutes on the clock, and we're going to do a non-spoiler review. I'm sure most people have seen it by now, but usually that's our rule with new movies: is we don't like to spoil things when we first talk about it, at least on GNN.
Yeah, we'll totally spoil an old movie for you. You should have seen it by now. What are you doing? Don't click on this.
It's not even worth clicking on because we should have done this already. All right, here we go. 10 minutes on the clock. I like to start right off, if I may, by saying, and this is a cliche by now, everybody's saying this, that there is not a better pick for Spider-Man than Andrew Garfield.
I thought he did very well.
Loved it.
There's some people that have been saying this to me, which kind of bothers me a little bit because I feel like it's a little short-sighted on what a nerd or a geek is. But they're like, I just didn't feel like he was nerdy enough. I didn't feel like he was enough of a geek. And to that I say, a geek is essentially a person who is an outcast. And in today's day and age, this is not the 60s anymore. We don't have this tremendous stereotype of the guy with glasses who has a pocket protector. Although, they do still exist, but that's not the guy that you're going to relate to because he's not a real person. you're going to relate to a guy who's, look, he's super smart, which means he's smart enough to know that he shouldn't present himself as a stereotype. And here's a guy that likes to be Spider-Man. so here's a guy that goes out and what he tries to do...
That's funny every time.
he tries to critique football. But, I mean... He does the certain things that are tropes of being a geek. You know, he has troubles with women. He has troubles with bullies, which is something I feel like is necessary to touch on. The bully in this movie.
Fantastic.
He was Flash Thompson was more interesting in this movie than he's ever been in another movie. Granted, the one, but
but still, I was really impressed with that.
Yeah,
I loved that. I liked him.
You know, I think that's kind of where Spider-Man gets hung up, is they're trying to...
You said hung up in Spider-Man. Good.
They're trying to get... essentially, Spider-Man tries to use the archetypes and tries to use stereotypes too much, to its detriment. They don't... The people who make Spider-Man movies often don't think of Spider-Man so much as a person more than they do as a figure. They want the geeks to feel like they can be strong. Well, you know, make him a real person so that people can relate to him, and a geek will relate to him just the same. So, yeah. I feel like I'm sort of bringing everything back to the same essential issue, but I think that's what this movie really did right. They got Peter Parker right.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, like you said, all those things are there. It's not like... He doesn't just scream, you know, like you said, the geek that, like, the nerd that, like, pushes his glasses up all the time, but, like, he's kind of socially awkward. What was really impressive to me was that they did the exact same thing with his romantic relationship that they did in all three Raimi movies, and they made it work. And what that was that they had all these scenes together, Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy, where they fumbled around words and didn't know what to say to each other, and it totally worked. In the Raimi movies, they would do that, and it came off as, like, really badly written dialogue some of the time, and a lot of time it was just like the chemistry wasn't working for some reason. You get into this, and again, they're fumbling around for words, they're not sure what to say to each other, but, like, it's charming, you know? It's cute, like, it works. And I don't know about you, but I liked them together a lot.
I did.
I really enjoyed that relationship, and what without spoiling it, something that happens toward the end between them, the movie wanted me to take as really heart-wrenching, and I did. I did.
You know, the thing about this movie is that the thing, not just that I feel like they got Peter Parker correct, because I feel like there's a different way, or I feel like there are different ways to get Peter Parker correct, but what this movie really did correctly was that they took something that was white hats and black hats and made it a person affecting his own destiny.
Yeah.
So I
do feel like it was a bit forced in making it a big destiny thing. You're right, and that's great. I do have to say though, I'm not especially keen on this idea that Peter Parker was meant to be Spider-Man, and having like the whole mythos being so like ultra connected to like his very inception. I don't know. It's working okay. It's just it feels a little out of place for Spider-Man. Yeah, and I'm wrestling with it because I don't want to come off as like, oh, I don't like it because it's not like the comics. It just feels, some people have said it's too Harry Potter, and I can kind of see where they're coming from. I can kind of see that a little bit, but...
I understand that. I understand it a little bit. But still, it's not like somebody threw a spider on him. He made a choice.
Yeah, well, no, that's true. That's true.
And it's not like some big spider said, "It is your destiny," and then flew from outer space and landed on his finger. But
no, that happened in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, I'll give you a high five for that one. But
look, a motorbike! We better land next to it. Let's dance.
But Spider-Man makes choices and affects his destiny. And I think one of the reasons why the relationship works is that, in contrast to the other movies, they're going somewhere. Like, awkward dialogue is okay, because at some point you believe that this is a Spider-Man or this is a Peter Parker who's going to do is going to do something that's entertaining or interesting and is going to lead you to think, yeah, I want you to do this because eventually you're going to do something.
Most importantly, he doesn't feel like a different person in the costume than he does out of the costume. I don't think. I mean, I feel like he seems like the same person. That was the problem. That was one of the biggest problems with the Raimi movies, is that he'd get in the costume and every now and again he'd make some jokes that'd be like, but this guy's like blubbering all the time. I don't think he even cracks. I don't think he has a sense of humor. humor.
Yeah.
But this guy had a sense of humor.
Which is another problem. Teen angst is a stereotype. Let's back up and not do the teen angst. I mean, sure, he can have teen angst. There was some in this movie.
There was teen angst, but it was real teen angst. It wasn't as forced. Okay, getting back to the teen stuff worked. That all seemed realistic. What didn't work for me was just when he goes into the lab and he ends up finding the spider and he gets bit. I thought everything leading up to that, once he got into the building, was really contrived. That guy's briefcase pops open and he drops or whatever, or he drops a notebook or something. I forget now. It's been a few weeks since I've seen it. And he just happens to drop the piece of paper that tells him what room to go to that has the spider. You know what I mean? Like there were 2 or 3 things leading up to it once he got there that it's playing it like, because it's connected to his parents, it all connects up, and for the most part it does, but there still were these little contrivances in the middle of it to get him there. Like, just because his father developed this mathematical formula doesn't mean that he necessarily would have walked into that building and found that. So, I'm with you that, yes, he makes choices, but there are some kind of just like out in the ether, this is Spider-Man's origin, so he must find the spider thing. That's good. That's definitely happening.
Yeah, you have a point.
It's not. I mean, it doesn't kill the movie or anything. I'm just saying that it could have been handled better. The movie is playing it like it's doing all that super smart, and I think it's cheating in some places.
Yeah, fair enough. There's I sort of feel like, I'm going to try to tie this in. We're going to see what happens. I sort of feel like the actual experiencing and the development of the powers post being bitten by the spider are intentionally rushed through. And sometimes I feel like they're trying to create a movie where the origin seems less just happenstance and more of a destiny, or a person affecting their own destiny. And in doing so, I feel like they're sort of like stumbling across the way. They're making little mistakes because there's...
That's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, and 2, they have these things in the past that are like, well, people don't want to see just another origin of Peter Parker, but the big driving force of this movie is the origin, as opposed to, I feel like the Raimi movie, the first one, was all about developing powers and then punching Green Goblin in the face. And in this one, it was more like, we're going to stagger that across the movie to where it actually makes sense, but they're rushing through certain things. Like, he almost experiences all of his powers all at once in a single scene, and then only has problems with one of them throughout the rest of the day. And
that's fair, yeah.
I think that's a good way to go about it. I mean, why? It might not make a lot of sense, but why belabor it like they did in the Raimi movie when you could just go done and get to the actual interesting stuff?
Yeah, and yet they do have to deal with it a little bit. You can't just get bitten. Now I got powers. Now I move on. I mean, like if you want it to feel grounded at all, he's got to have some experience. One thing I thought was really cool was that he was swinging around on chains before he developed his web shooters. That he was playing around with it. That all that was really kind of clever. I was surprised that one of the things I always made fun of the first Raimi film for is in this. And I really think, because honestly, I felt like this movie, by the way, was like running down a checklist of what didn't work with the Raimi movies and trying to fix it. It was almost like somebody gave these people a scavenger hunt and said, go find these things and then make a movie that doesn't have these things in them. You know what I mean? It was an exercise in how do we not do the stupid stuff the Raimi movies did. And one thing that they missed on that checklist was explain how he affords an obviously really expensive costume. That always bugged me in the Raimi movies, and I know I'm kind of quibbling, but it always bugged me. I'm like we make a big deal out of a guy who doesn't have a lot of money, and then we give him a suit that you would have to be making a big budget movie to make.
You see, that's what the entire scene in the gym was about. He was experiencing the basketballs that were going to form his costume.
I was thinking that while I was watching that scene. when he has his hand on the basketball and he's doing this and he's got it stuck on the basketball, I kept thinking, he's not really just messing around with Flash Thompson. He's also thinking, I can make a suit out of this. I can make a suit out of basketball.
Which I thought looked really cool, by the way. I mean, granted, you have a great point, but the suit looked really cool. I don't care if it did look a little bit like sporting equipment.
Yeah, I still question it a little bit, but I think that it's sort of like the Tumblr in Batman Begins within the world of the movie. I thought it looked great. I also wasn't real sure what I was going to think about the like light flashing when he shoots the webs, but I loved it in the context of the movie. And you know what I'm talking about? Like, there's a light that flashes whenever his web shooters go off. And at first I was like, really? That seems kind of strange. Like it's a little bit too gimmicky. Like, we're trying to make a big deal out of the web shooters. But I didn't feel that way watching the movie, because what was great about it was, some people have complained, by the way, that too much of the movie takes place at night for a Spider-Man film. They're like, it's so dark. But the thing is, in the context of what's going on in the movie, it makes sense that most things are going on at night. And plus, he's in high school. When would he go out and do anything? So, what I liked about the lights on the web shooters was that he would be like in the sewer or in a really dark place, and it makes sense because you can see more of what's going on, and it lights stuff up, and it looks really cool. It actually did a lot for the atmosphere, which I was kind of surprised by. I was like, there's a real legitimate like filmography reason for having the lights on the web shooters. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I like the Lizard.
I like the Lizard too.
I thought it was a little too Jekyll and Hyde, getting addicted to his formula.
Clearly, there was way too much cut out from his scenes, and Dan talked about this when he and Eric reviewed it, and he and I were talking about this the other night, and he said that he actually did some research and figured this out. He said that Doc Connors, because this was one thing that bugged me, was that Doc Connors didn't have a family. And it's not just because of comic book. He seemed way too mysterious for no good reason to me. I was like, who is this guy? Like, what does he do when he goes home? I thought it was weird that we go to his house and we know nothing about him. That's always strange to me. Like you enter a person's home and you're given no actual, like, personal information about them. But this isn't a movie that's making people really two-dimensional. We know a lot about Peter Parker. He became very real to me. Gwen Stacy was very real. Even Captain Stacy, who at first I didn't like and came to like, became very real. So why is this guy so super mysterious? And just because he's the villain? No, it's because they actually cast his family. They were supposed to be in it, and they shot scenes and they cut them all out. So, anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. I wish they hadn't cut so many of Doc Connor's scenes.
There are a few scenes that seem disjointed from the rest of the movie, and I'm not going to say that his motivations are not there.
I think they are there. Yeah.
I feel like they were supposed to be in the movie, but because there is a particular scene near the end of the movie that I'm not going to say what it is, but I just feel like you cannot say that is not something that was feasible within what you've seen in the movie, but it's definitely not something that was led up to.
Yeah, so, it was like they were paying off things that they hadn't set up.
Yeah, right? something that's post-climax, like something that they wanted to be there, but obviously was not allowed to shine through. I mean, there's always stuff that ends up on the cutting room floor, and sometimes people are like, just retrospectively appreciate this thing and apply it. Like, that's not how it works. You can't fire a gun and scene, in the third act that you didn't set up in Act 1.
Obviously, we're well past the timer, so I want to ask you one more big question before we end. We made a video when the movie was announced, talking a little bit about whether or not we thought that it was too soon to reboot the franchise. Mm-hmm. Having seen the movie, what do you think about that now?
I still don't care.
You still don't care? Okay.
I think what I said was, they could reboot it a million times, I really don't care. And for me, it's not a problem. As long as it's a good movie, or as long as it's a movie that I want to find entertaining, I'll go see it. I'm still waiting for the Spider-Man movie that I feel is perfect. But
you'll probably never get that. I mean,
yeah.
The thing for me was I had a very strange experience with it, because and actually remember that my side of that argument was I did think it was a little bit too early. I thought it was a little bit strange to go ahead and reboot it so fast, because and it was because I was like, I don't really need another Spider-Man movie right now if you're not going to make Spider-Man 4, and frankly I didn't want Spider-Man 4. So for me I was just sort of like, yay, they're not going to do that, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like oh god, you must fix the problems with the Raimi movies. I didn't mean to make this Raimi bashing. I like a lot of things about those movies. There's just a lot of things I don't, and I always thought you could have made a better franchise. And I will also go on record to say I think this is better than at least the first Raimi movie. At least narratively, and it's at least better at creating real characters. It's a smarter movie. It is definitely a smarter movie, I think, than at least the first one, certainly. But what I was going to say is, the strange experience I had was I felt like I didn't need it. Like I left the theater going, I really enjoyed that. But again, it was just sort of weird because it was just an exercise in seeing if we could make a better one. It was almost like an experiment. I felt like I went to an experiment. It was kind of strange.
You know, the sequel that they're setting up, I'm not sure that I care to see. And it's not to say that I won't see it. That's not to say I won't enjoy it. It's not to say that they've greenlit anything. But
well, no, they have, of course. I mean, it's...
But all I'm saying is that I don't necessarily know that I care about the franchise, but I did enjoy the movie. And I feel like they could make another reboot. I mean, it feels like they're just trying to test the waters and see what they can get away with.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see what happens with the sequel, because apparently a lot of the reason that things got cut out and stuff, my guess is because Sony went on record to say they didn't like the movie. And yeah, they didn't like it, and so they made them make some weird changes and stuff, and then they fired the writing staff, and they've hired Orsi and Kurtzman, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that. Orsi and Kurtzman, of course, who wrote Star Trek and the Transformers movies, and I'm just going, I don't know if those are the guys I want for this. So, in fact, maybe it's fair to just say I don't really think those are the guys I want for this. So anyway, yeah. So we'll see what happens. Was it weird to you, by the way, that the after credit scene was actually in the trailers? Did you notice that? There was a bit of the after credit scene that was in the trailers. What? That's so weird.
Yeah, I think people are starting to misinterpret Easter eggs, and like, if it's supposed to be a surprise, you probably shouldn't show it before anybody sees it.
I wonder if that was originally supposed to be like a scene in the movie, and then they changed it around or something. Because I really doubt that if it was originally an after credit scene, they would have put it in the trailer. That's just so weird.
Judging from where it takes place, I don't think it could have been in the middle of the movie, but.
No, I just mean maybe it was supposed to be in like before the credits or something. You know what I mean? Where like maybe it wasn't an after credit scene before. Oh. Maybe that's like how the movie ended, as opposed to it wasn't in the middle of the credits. You know what I mean? We've seen this happen before with other things too, where like they take something that was supposed to be originally in the main section of the movie, and then they put it in the credits or after the credits.
You know, something that bothers me actually is that people try to do Easter eggs. Like, that's almost like the perfect example of how Easter eggs are not necessary. I'm like, if you're going to make a movie, and if you want to give us an Easter egg, give us an Easter egg. But you don't have to do the Easter egg. You can put that in your movie. An Easter egg should be something that has no specific bearing on the current plot line.
Yeah, you don't really need it. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's what we think about Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, you know what? I didn't mention the biggest thing I hated. I hated the soundtrack. I thought it was like the worst score in a superhero movie I've ever heard.
I'll admit, I didn't even notice.
Okay, well, if you watch it again, you got to tell me if you notice it, because boy, it bugged me. Anyway, I'm not even going to talk about it. I just thought that the soundtrack was really weird, and like there were a lot of scenes where they felt misscored to me.
When I watch Spider-Man, I'm kind of like a little boy. I'm like, I get to see Spider-Man. I'll admit.
But it was distracting. Like, I wouldn't normally notice it, but it's so distracting. Whatever. Anyway, maybe I wouldn't normally notice it. I do pay attention to scores, so whatever. Anyway, but I do have to say, my wife noticed it, and she never notices scores, so I can't be a crazy person.
No, that's fair. I'm not defending it. I just say I didn't notice it.
So anyway, obviously, I recommend the movie. I thought it was fun. If you haven't seen it yet, it's still in your theater. I say go see it. I enjoyed it. So anyway.
Indeed.
And you too, right?
Yeah, I recommend it. I think it's a good movie.
I usually try to throw that part in there.
No, that's fair.
Well, hey,
I give it enough stars to where you should go see it.
I give it 40 stars.
40 out of how many? Doesn't matter.
It's the show where everything's made up and the stars don't matter. Well, thanks a lot for watching Geeks Not Nerds, and if you got an idea for something you'd like to see us talk about in a future video, be sure to leave that in the comments below. Thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store.